Hello, my name is Cecilia, and this here is my service dog, Canella. Some of you may recognize us from the SACNAS conference, where I did a few interviews for their social media channel and posted videos as part of the social media street team. In addition, I got to speak on a panel called Navigating Disabilities in STEM. The link to the video is over here. And I gave a poster presentation. We also went a little bit viral back in May, so we were featured on various news outlets. So, why am I talking to you today? I want to share my experience at the SACNAS 2025 NDiSTEM conference as a scientist with a service dog. Just to be clear, I'm making this video for anyone who is considering attending an NDiSTEM conference. People like me who thought they could never attend, or maybe were hesitant to attend because of their disabilities, or maybe their need for a mobility device or other kinds of accommodations. For those who do not know, NDiSTEM stands for the National Diversity in STEM Conference and is hosted by SACNAS, which stands for the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans in STEM. Every year, this conference hosts a wide variety of scientists, ranging from the biomedical to chemistry to geology and beyond. It is meant to bring a diverse group of people together so we can lift each other up in our advancement of science. And true to their words, SACNAS delivers on one of the most diverse and welcoming conferences I have ever attended. I attended SACNAS in 2024. I expected it to be just another conference where I would have to struggle to be accommodated. Because of how nervous I was, I didn't attend with my service dog that year. However, I was blown away by how accessible SACNAS strives to make every person feel welcome and how many disabled scientists were able to attend regardless of their level of need. In 2025, when I was invited to come back, I felt confident enough to go with Canella and see for myself how accessible the conference can be with a service dog. As of the time of this video going up, the next conference will be held in Long Beach, California on October 29th to the 31st, 2026. The one after that will be in Kansas City, Missouri from October 28th to the 30th, 2027. So if this sounds like the conference for you, I recommend going. I took quite a few notes of what I noticed during the conference, and I'll try to be as honest as possible. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comments if I missed anything, and I'll answer to the best of my ability. Just to be clear, this video is in no way sponsored by SACNAS, and although I was part of the social media team and I do like wearing my merch, it was a volunteer-based role that only lasts for the duration of the conference. In this video, I'm going to talk about some accommodations that I needed, but I also try to make mention of anything else that I noticed that others may need. So feel free to ask any questions in the comments if there is something that I didn't cover but you may want my opinion on. Some of the things I typically have to worry about when attending a conference is where my service dog can go to the bathroom. If the nearest relief area is incredibly far, I have to plan my whole schedule around her break times. So I emailed the SACNAS staff in advance to know where the service dog relief areas were, but I emailed them way too early and they didn't even have the conference map at that time. So I had to follow up later on. And unfortunately, I completely forgot to follow up. And when I got there at the hotel the day before the conference, I frantically emailed them saying, do you know where they are? At the time, I really didn't expect anyone to get back to me, and I figured that I would figure it out in the morning. However, I got a response nearly right away. So thankfully, there was a relief area right outside the main conference area. They let me know where it could be from the map, as it wasn't labeled on the app. So this was an incredible help as the weather was rainy and cloudy the whole entire conference. So knowing where that relief area was instead of having to find it really was a huge help. So another accommodation I need is to have an open spot at my poster session. Typically, when I do poster presentations, the attendees are very focused on reading the posters in front of them. And because of that, they don't really look down, which leads to a lot of people, unfortunately, stepping on Canella's tail. Or alternatively, they get really shocked when they do notice her and then they scream out of surprise. So because of this, I typically ask for a spot at the very end of a poster session row This way, Canella has way more room to lay comfortably. She's more out of the crowded areas, and hopefully, more people see her from afar before they start looking at the posters. So I let SACNAS know in advance. They made a note of it, reassured me that it could be done. On the day of the poster session, somebody actually from SACNAS helped me, and they walked me over to the spot to confirm that it was fine, and it totally was. I really appreciated that they really took the effort to think about where was best to place me. Also, one thing to note, in 2024, when I attended, I noted that the space between the posters was really, really tiny. And thankfully, they did take my feedback into account. And this year, it was perfect. There was just enough room. It didn't feel overly crowded. And there was enough room for my service dog to be with me without her or me taking up too much space. So it really made me glad to hear that they took the feedback seriously and they improved it for 2025. Now, next is the accessible bathrooms. So I know many people require accessible bathrooms for a variety of reasons. This location that we were at had a lot of bathrooms available, which definitely helped prevent overcrowding. Additionally, each one had one or more accessible stall, so that helped cut down on the wait time as well. So during the conference, one of the ones that was closest to where I was had an accessible stall that was shut down. And at the time, I didn't know where the other bathrooms were located. I thought that they were, going to be really far apart from each other. So I went up to the SACNAS help desk, and they were actually able to point me toward another one that had an accessible stall in the area. So I was really impressed with how quickly the staff knew the answer, and they also knew the layout of the conference really well. So that helped so much. Thank you. Next is the plenary. So, the opening plenary and all the following plenaries that they have are one of my favorite parts of the SACNAS conference. So, I am just so excited to talk about it. The opening plenary is one of the biggest highlights of the NDiSTEM conference, and I look forward to it every year. As it is one of the most widely attended sessions on the schedule, there is a diverse level of needs. There is a designated area for people with mobility devices or ASL interpreters. You do have to let them know 3 weeks in advance if you need an interpreter when you register for the conference, which I think 3 weeks is pretty reasonable to let them know. There is also a full transcript on the screen for anybody who needs it. So, as I mentioned before, Canella is a bit of a big dog, so I was worried about the seating space at the plenary. Since I was on the social media street team, there was a reserved seating area at the front, and there the team made sure to designate a space just for Canella, and it was absolutely perfect. Thank you once again to SAS for doing that for us. For mobility devices, at the convention center, you could also rent wheelchairs or mobility scooters, and they have instructions on their website on how to go about that if you need it, which I think is super helpful since I know it can definitely be difficult to travel with mobility devices. So it's great they offer that at the conference, and SACNAS makes sure that we know how to do that for anybody who needs it. So I know that this will vary based on where the conference is being held each year, but I do want to talk about the elevators. Since the opening plenary was on the top floor and the majority of the conference rooms were on the bottom floor, using the elevators was a necessity. So all of the ones that I used worked as intended, they were fairly fast, and I know some convention centers can really neglect their elevators, which makes it feel rickety or unsafe. So that's why I find it important to mention that this conference place was great. A plus, they really were clean, they worked well. I didn't feel like I was taking my life into my hands every time I went into the elevator. The only downside was that the elevator near the opening plenary would sometimes be a little bit finicky. So, in other words, we would hit the bottom floor button and the doors would close as if it was going to move, but then it would open once again, even if nobody was pressing the button on the other side, which was a little bit strange. However, it did work for the most part, so that was great. Additionally, I've never seen this before, but the elevators did have a clean air filter. So, as somebody with a bad immune system, it really did help put my mind at ease knowing that it was clean. So, for every day of the conference, lunch was included. And since I have a long list of allergies, with the hardest one to navigate being wheat, This makes it difficult for me. So typically, when lunches are provided at other conferences, there is a lot of crowding, people trying to push past you, and just overall chaos. So this can be a struggle for anybody with sensory issues or mobility aids if it's crowded. However, SACNAS made sure that there was multiple lunch stations spread out to prevent crowds on every day of the conference. Water was provided, there was plenty of refill stations, and I went to the main hall to go get lunch just to see how it would be handled, and the workers were very on top of the crowd. So everybody was in a single file line. The seating areas were spread out so that way there's nobody grabbing lunch and then blocking the line to the lunch area. So they were spread out so it's easy enough to prevent crowding. And additionally, it was in to-go bags, so that way it's easy to carry out of the hall and take it somewhere quieter or less crowded. When I got to the front, they directed me toward the allergy station, and everything was labeled properly. They let me know what add-ons were available, such as sauce packets that they told me were safe to eat. Allergy table was also completely separate from the other food. There was always somebody present to double check that nobody was accidentally taking an allergy safe meal away from somebody who needs it. My only complaint was that on the very last day of the conference, the gluten-free allergy may not have been labeled properly. I'm not sure if maybe they ran out of stickers, but on the days prior to this, they were labeled vegan/gluten-free, but on the last day, it only said vegan. I decided to play it safe and not eat it since I wasn't 100% sure. But otherwise, I did really enjoy the food. They made sure that there was something different every day, which definitely made me feel included and, not like it was thrown together last minute. Overall, NDiSTEM really strives to make everyone feel included and help you find a community. So samples from the conference would include the Native American meeting room, the Women in STEM reception, there's a sensory room. Every day at lunch, there's also dedicated areas for networking. So each one was sectioned based off of your scientific field, which makes it much easier to talk to people in your field during lunchtime. Additionally, since NDiSTEM has so many different scientists, it could be very difficult to find somebody in your specific group. So I felt like this was a great idea, and I really hope that they keep that up. Additionally, there is also a dedicated quiet room for work, study, or maybe you have to take an exam if you're a student at the conference. So I felt like that was a great opportunity as well. Additionally, when preparing for the conference, SACNAS has this little conference readiness course. In it, they tell you about something called bringing your whole self to SACNAS. When I heard this back in 2024, I honestly didn't think much of it. I thought to myself, can I really bring my whole self to a scientific conference? And yes, actually, many attendees take this to heart. People wear traditional clothing or they hand out pins and badges to help showcase who you are. And in this same way, having disabilities isn't something to hide. Yes, it comes with struggles, but it doesn't have to be something to hide. Get a little personal here. Having a service dog in chemistry is not easy. People stare at me, they make negative comments or assumptions, or just overall make me feel like I'm taking up space. So when coming to this conference, I really worried. I spent the whole night before thinking I had such an amazing experience at NDiSTEM 2024, but what if I'm too much? What if I walk in there and everyone stares at me or makes rude comments? And by the next morning, I realized how silly I was being. I have never felt more welcomed and as if I belonged there. Every staff member was really willing to help and they were beyond considerate and respectful. That to some people, programs like this, the ones that make us celebrate our differences and bring us together, can be seen as unnecessary or marketing fluff. But NDiSTEM does make a difference. In 2024, when I attended, I was still on the fence about graduate school. I was incredibly unsure about myself, and I knew that the odds were stacked against me. I had a suffocating need to hide the things that put me at a disadvantage. So when I went to Arizona without Canella, I felt like that was the only way to be seen as professional. But I was proven wrong. I met so many wonderful connections who made me feel seen, heard, and somebody to be celebrated. So when the time came to make that final decision to go to graduate school, I thought of my experiences at NDiSTEM. And I was reminded that the only factor I should consider is whether I have the drive to do so. The SACNAS Familia is worth your time. It is worth the effort to make people feel included. The words cannot describe the absolute honor it was for me to be involved in such a small part of this conference. As a poster presenter, as a guest speaker for a panel, as part of the social media street team, just as they had inspired me, I really hope someone out there who is considering going to the next NDiSTEM conference, but perhaps is a little scared because of their disabilities or judgment, can take that leap forward. So, thank you for giving me this chance to speak honestly about my experiences, and I can't wait for the next time I'm able to attend. A big thank you to everyone who helped Canella and I throughout the conference process. I want to give a special thanks to Sareen Miller, Menez, Emily Pavlik, and Natalie Strauss for going back and forth with me via email for accommodations, and a big thank you to everyone who helped me in person during the conference. I'm sorry that I didn't get the chance to write all of your names down, but please accept my thanks for making SACNAS so accessible to so many people.